Rudy, thank you so much for joining us. What were your original concerns with the commission?
I originally co-led an op-ed in the Idaho Press Tribune on the need for minority representation on the commission, so that the votes of minorities are not diluted. And it ended up being that the way these districts have been drawn, many of the minority communities that I'm associated with, Native Americans, Hispanics, feel like they're going to be disenfranchised as a result of these maps.
Let's walk through your concerns. Now that you've seen the maps, what are your primary issues with what's been proposed?
Well, in my hometown of Nampa, which is 25% Latino, and there are a lot of low income voters, mainly in the core inner parts of the city. Originally, the second map proposed had the city split up into four districts there's about 100,000 folks in the city, and then Meridian's a comparable city population wise, and was only proposed to be two. And so due to concerns, they end up changing it, and there's only three, but it's still segmented in a way that's going to lessen that voting block of minorities and low income voters. And then as it relates to my tribe, I learned, like many others, through public statements that they put out, that it's split right through the middle of the tribal reservation where the majority of our tribal population resides. And so that's not helpful to us in terms of maintaining a community, our communities of interest, people that, want to have a voice.
You're a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe. I also know that the Coeur d'Alene tribe has expressed concerns about the way its reservation has been divided and put into two different districts. And the Nez Perce reservation is also split into three separate districts. Do you know if there's been any discussion between those three tribes about a potential lawsuit?
I've heard that there are conversations happening about that. I know that each tribe is unique and their concerns are unique, so they're figuring out how best to address it. But it's been very disheartening to see the results as they impact our reservation communities in Idaho.
As a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe, if this map stands, what are your concerns about future legislation, how this is going to impact your community for the next 10 years that this map would be in place?
Well, it has concerns for me as it relates to, the amount of votes and the constituency that we have the weight to bring forth in terms of interfacing with elected representatives. It may not be as as strong if our community was reflected by one representative, but it also has larger, broader concerns because this is more likely to prevent people from being interested in running for office that could come from that community, from my tribe. If, say 5, 6, 10 years down the line, we have somebody that's qualified that wants to run, but couldn't appeal to everyone within our tribal reservation to try to get them out to vote.
How are the concerns of your tribal community different than, say, somebody who lives in Pocatello or somebody who lives in Idaho Falls?
Well, they're much different. When it comes to buying a house or building a house, the permitting process and the regulations are much different because they're dealing with federal lands. And so it's way harder, and they just don't have access to the same loans and programs that are available to folks that are outside of reservation boundaries.
And
that's one example.
And when we're talking about the Latino community in Nampa, how are those community concerns different than somebody else who lives in Nampa or Caldwell or anywhere else in Canyon County?
Well, there are a lot of shared concerns for sure, but when it comes to issues of having a representative that will push for language access barriers or information that the state could be providing more services to help, underfunded schools. Those are critical problems, especially in the midst of COVID that we've been battling. Oftentimes, medical information hasn't reached our communities, and so, we have people that are disproportionately impacted in a negative way.
All right, Rudy Soto, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.